Okay, so like nobody told me, like literally nobody told me, and I sat here thinking if just one person had been honest with me before I got to campus, maybe I wouldn't have spent my first year in school wondering what is wrong with me and wondering how this thing actually works. So today I'm being that person for you. Don't get lost in campus because everyone told me campus was going to be the best years of my life, like the freedom, the friendships, the glow ups, and the whole you'll find yourself and find your purpose era thing. And you know what? Parts of it are actually true, but here is what nobody mentioned to me. It might also be most confusing, overwhelming, and quite stressful period of your entire life. Like nobody told me that you could be surrounded by thousands of people around you and still feel completely alone and like just alone. And nobody told me that while you're chasing that degree, you're also silently panicking about your future every single day. Like you wake up, you think about it, you sleep, you still think about your career. And also nobody told me that the pressure doesn't ar- the pressure doesn't arrive loudly. It sneaks in small moments. It sneaks in small moments. You'll find yourself scrolling your phone at odd hours, 11 p.m., 2 a.m., 1 a.m. You see someone your age getting an internship, winning it in life, or even at times relatives get to ask you at family gathering, what exactly are you planning to do with that degree once you graduate? And suddenly everything starts to feel heavy, like it starts to feel confusing, and you keep wondering like how is this working out and how can I like navigate it. So if you've ever felt like you're behind, you've not gotten it in life, and you're questioning whether you are actually doing enough, this video is for you. And I hope you can learn from my experience in campus, and also yeah, and maybe you've sat alone in your room wondering what am I even doing with my life right now. Then by the end of this video, hopefully you'll already know exactly why you clicked this video, and you'll get to understand it even better. Like you'll come to have a better understanding of your life. So welcome back. Hi lovelies. My name is Mary Moraya. I'm a HR student, a HR founder of Mary Moraya Career Lab. And also right now we're planning a HR accelerator program. I'll tell you about it later. And in this video, what you're about to watch, I actually wished this video existed before I got into campus. And now that I'm currently in that year, I think I can tell you all about campus life. And we are going to deep dive on it today. Let's talk about social pressure, anxiety, academic anxiety, career panics, money stress, mental health, like all of it. What campus has: no filter, no polish, just honesty. So grab yourself some snacks, get comfortable. This is going to be long, it's going to be real, and hopefully it's going to make you feel a whole lot less alone. And if you're new here, welcome, subscribe, because this is the channel. It's built for real students navigating real careers. And if you've already been part of this community, you already know what this is. All right, let's dive in. So okay, I'll be starting with this because this is something that almost broke me in my first year. Yeah, not the exams, not the workload, but the comparison that comes when you're in campus, like that comparison culture. You walk onto campus for the first time and something strange happens. So suddenly everyone seems like they have it completely figured out together, like someone is already doing music and they're loving it, and it's first semester. Some have already even gotten like friends and they seem to be pretty close, and you're wondering how. And someone else is a president of probably some clubs in schools or has a high GPA. Maybe they've even figured out how to navigate campus and somehow also started a small business on the side. And you're still sitting there wondering, did I miss a meeting? Now add social media to that, like the social media pressure that comes also to that. Like you open Instagram, TikTok, and someone is traveling, someone is glowing up, someone posts grateful to announce on LinkedIn and excited to share, and your completely normal life suddenly feels insufficient. But here's the truth, and I need you to hear this, because people do not post their confusions, they do not post their rejection emails, they don't post the days they feel completely lost, and they don't post the 2 a.m. moments where they are questioning everything about their life. Mostly people post the wins they have, and if you only consume the wins, you start believing you're the only person struggling, which is absolutely not true. So I'll give you a story of somebody. Let me call her Ivy. So in my second semester in first year, there was this student in my class. I'm going to call her Ivy. Ivy has the most organized notes. She answers questions in every lecture. Like she knows everything about the courses we're doing. She's organized. She's aware of the networking events around schools, and even she has a small side hustle. While still in first year, I genuinely thought this lady did not sleep, and I started measuring my life's progress against hers. Like the highlights she was giving, I used to compare myself to that. My grades weren't bad. Okay, they're not bad, and I was doing okay, but I started feeling like somewhat confused because I wasn't her. So one afternoon, we just ended up catching up, just the two of us in that group. And somewhere in that conversation, she was open to me and she told me when she was in first semester, she failed her exams. She had retaken them and she almost dropped out entirely. None of that, not one word of it was online. Like pretty less people knew about that, but I mean, she did go through that. And the lesson I took from that day is everyone's behind the scenes looks completely different from what they show on the front stage. So stop auditioning for someone else's movie while you have your own story to write. Like, so we talked about the comparison, but comparison doesn't just come from social media only, it also comes from closer to home, like your actual friend group. So who are the people you have in your friend group? And nobody tells you that finding your people on campus takes time. Yes, real time. You might spend the entire semester or your entire life in campus with the wrong group. That like people who drain you, people who compete with you instead of rooting for you, people who are always in your business but never in your corner. And breaking away from that group feels terrifying. It feels scary because the thought of being alone on a huge campus is genuinely scary. But here is what I know now about friend groups and circles. A small intentional circle beats a large circle, and a toxic one every single time. Like being with a small group is better. You need maybe 2 or 3 people who genuinely see you and who actually cheer for you, not 20 people who barely know you like for who you are. And quality of a crowd every single time. So we've got like understand that the group pressure is real, and now that you have a group, what is it that you're doing for yourself in your own life? A real quick question. Raise your hand if you have a relative who has asked you, so what are you going to do with that degree? And not just once, but at every family gathering since you enrolled in campus or on call every time they keep asking you. And it gives you some pressure because this expectation that you should have a clear mapped out career plan at your 20s is one of the most damaging things we do to young people, and your brain is not even fully developed until probably you're 25. So you are supposed to be exploring, making mistakes, figuring things out. The pressure to have all the answers right is not preparation, it's actually anxiety dressed as ambition. So let me say this clearly: give yourself permission to be in process. Not knowing yet is not failure, it is exploration. And just understand the pressures around you, the comparisons around you first as you keep navigating yourself. Now that let's talk about something else that surprised me even more than the social stuff, the comparison and all that. The gap between what I expected campus to be and what it actually is. One of the biggest lie I got when I was joining is that you'll figure everything out in campus. Sounds nice, right? Here's the reality though. Most people don't. You actually don't figure it out. Then you arrive thinking, I'll discover my passion here, I'll graduate, I'll build my career plan confidently, ready and clear about everything. But instead, you're juggling lectures. Sometimes you don't even fully understand what you're being taught. The assignments that pile up faster than you expect, the exams rushing near you, and also classmates who seem like they're miles ahead, and a future that still feels very, very unclear. And then something else happened that nobody warns you about. You start comparing your expectations to your own reality. You thought you'd be confident, but you find yourself you're doubting every move you're making. Maybe you thought you'd be productive, but at times you feel overwhelmed. You thought you'd have clarity about everything, but sometimes you feel more confused than ever about it all. And that gap between who you thought you'd be and who you actually are right now, that's where the real internal pressure starts to build in. You end up finding yourself going through something like the 11 a.m. spiral at night alone in your room. And let me paint a picture for you. It's 11 a.m. You know those odd hours. You're in your room and your laptop is open, or maybe your phone, but you're not like really working on anything or solving a problem. You're actually scrolling and you see posts, someone saying this secured my internships at XYZ company. Somebody is grateful to announce an achievement. Some are excited to share that they'll be joining their dreams, and suddenly you start to spiral and asking yourself, am I doing enough? Did I even choose the right course? What if I graduate and I'm still lost? And just like that, campus stops feeling like an opportunity and it starts feeling like a race you didn't even know you were supposed to be running. I'm telling you this not to make you hopeless, but because I want you to know that 11 a.m. or odd hour spiral is not unique to you. I've also gone through it, and almost every student in campus and those I've interacted with or probably interacted with have spoken about it to know exactly what that feeling is. You're not the only one. Okay, so you're not the only one. Another thing that took me off the hook about my reality about campus is the GPA obsession. Like, let's talk about the grades. Specifically, let's talk about the way we've been taught to treat GPA like it's the only measure of intelligence, capability, or future success. And I want to say this carefully because I know some of you are very grade focused, like your GPA really matters a lot to you. But it's not the whole story about campus life, and I wasted some emotional energy being devastated about some grades I got and a GPA I got. Thinking energy, like the energy I could have spent it actually building actual skills, relationships, and even real world experience. So here's what most people won't tell you. Most hiring managers, especially in the HR space, care far more about your attitude, your emotional intelligence, and how you present yourself than your exact GPA score. Some of the most impressive professionals I've met barely scratched through their degrees, and practical skills, internships, and real projects often tell a more compelling story than a perfect transcript. So, yes, get that GPA up, work hard, show up, take your academics seriously, but do not let that become your entire identity. Like, don't make your GPA what is measuring you in campus. Let me actually give you the study strategies that worked for me, because there's a big difference between studying hard and studying smart. So how do you study smart? Here's what actually worked for me, and what research backs up is a couple of processes and techniques I'll share. So first, the Pomodoro technique. That is where you do 25 minutes of deep focused work. You get yourself a 5-minute break and repeat. And your brain is not designed for 4-hour cramming sessions, so stop fighting your own biology. Secondly, active recall over passive reading. Do not just highlight your notes and feel productive, then you close the book. Like, sometimes close the book, grab a blank page, write down everything you remember from what you planned. It's at the beginning it's uncomfortable, and the discomfort is literal learning happening in real life. Thirdly, teach it to a rubber duck. I'm completely serious. Explain the concept out loud to yourself, in a mirror, or to a pet, to an imaginary person. And if you can't explain it simply, you don't fully understand it yet. Fourth, you can utilize group study, but with actual rules. Study groups can either save you or waste time talking about everything except the material you're supposed to discuss. So set a clear agenda before you sit down. Have one person keep the group on track. Actually study. Now, what I just gave you are the strategies for when things are going reasonably well. But what about when studying smart still isn't enough? Let's talk about that, because it's real and nobody addresses it. So what happens when you've tried everything and you're still not getting the grades up, or you feel you're failing? So first thing I need you to say to yourself right now, I am not stupid. Yes. Say it again. If you have to, you might be struggling because of how the content is being taught, or not because you can't grasp it. You might be dealing with personal stress that's silently affecting your performance and you don't even realize it. You might genuinely be in the wrong course for how your brain works. All of these are real, all of them are valid, and all of them can be fixed. So here's what you can actually do for this. You can pick a friend, not just any, and not just when you're failing, but even before, and start tutoring each other early. See a student counselor if stress is affecting your performance, or you can even talk to an academic advisor. These services or resources exist on most campuses, like almost every campus, and they are massively underused because students are too proud, too scared, or too embarrassed to ask. Don't be that student who hides, alright? Acknowledge what you're going through and ask for help. Now that we are getting into that part, I think affects students the most. Let's talk about the career anxiety that comes in. What about that silent anxiety in career? And a secret nobody says out loud is most successful students you see on LinkedIn or out here, the ones who got internships at probably 1920, started businesses, have 5 certifications, most of them are also figuring it out as they go. The difference isn't that they are more qualified than you. The difference is that they started earlier and they are more visible about it. But let's talk about the anxiety first, because it needs to be named. And career anxiety on campus is silent, but it's constant. You might be laughing with friends during the day, but at night, you're thinking what actually happens after graduation. Because we've all seen it. Graduates struggling to find jobs, hundreds of applications sent with no response, and degrees that don't automatically translate into careers. And that fear, it creeps in early, even as early as in first years at times. And when you try your hardest to ignore it, it comes out loud. And one of the biggest triggers of that anxiety, honestly, maybe the biggest, is the thing called the internship race. Like everyone is racing to get an internship, even if you don't have one by your third year or your second year, it can feel like you have already lost it. And I want to give you a more grounded perspectives. Internships or attachments or these things, like work things, are incredible, and I'm not dismissing them because I've done a couple, but they are not the only path you can take to grow yourself professionally. You can do volunteer work, you can be in leadership positions in student organizations, you can have part-time jobs, you can do freelance projects, or even take up personal projects for yourself. And all this can help you build your CV or even a portfolio. Like all these build a story of your becoming. And here's what actually employers in HR are looking for. They are looking for evidence that you can do the work, evidence that you're curious and self-driven, evidence that you work well with other people, and you can demonstrate all three without a big company logo on your CV. So start where you are with what you have now. You don't have but sometimes you are less convinced you want to start building, but you don't know where to start. You don't have connections at times, or maybe you're introverted. How do you actually network? And I've had it in classes, in lectures, like everybody out is talking about it. Network. Like they keep saying it out loud, but nobody is teaching you how to, especially when you're shy, when you generally have no connections, and when you're in a city where you don't have family ties to any industry, like you don't know the who that knows people. So first of all, you can start with LinkedIn today, even if your profile isn't perfect, even if you have nothing to put on it yet. I have built LinkedIn is better than no LinkedIn. So start today. Comment on industry leaders' posts. Don't just like. Okay, I'm also a victim of just liking and not commenting, but you can do it. And when someone in your field posts something valuable, leave a 2-sentence thoughtful comment. This gets you noticed more than 100 silent likes ever will. I've done it in a few things and it has worked for me, so it can work for you too if you try. Secondly, ask for informational interviews. This is underused and it works. Reach out to one person per week in a role you want and ask for a 15-minute call to learn about their journey. Not a favor, like just a conversation. And most people say yes, but it's flattering and the ask is small. Like they say yes because it's flattering and the ask is small. So start with warm connections first. Also start with warm connections first, like lectures, alumni from your school, like people you've met at campus events. The warm network is always easier to work with than a cold outreach, especially when you're starting out. Now, beyond the practical side of networking and internships, there's something more internal that gets in the way for a lot of students, and it has a name: imposter syndrome. We often throw this phrase around so often that it's starting to lose its meaning. So let me get really specific about what imposter syndrome actually feels like in campus to career contexts. It feels like sitting in a room and waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, I think you're in the wrong place." Sometimes it feels like shrinking your own accomplishments and saying, "I only got the internship because I got lucky. Anyone could have done it." And sometimes it also feels like being afraid to ask questions in a meeting or a class because what if they realize I don't actually know as much as I thought I did. I've been affected by this before, but now I think I'm figuring it out, but not yet there. So here's the radical truth. Everyone in that room is faking it a little bit. Confidence is not the absence of doubt, and confidence is making the decision to act despite the doubt. And the people often seem that they are confident around you, they feel the exact same things you feel. They've just had one more practice showing up anyway, and they even have, like, they believe what they want to say. So don't let imposter syndrome be in the gap of what you want to build. Something else I'd like us to talk about is the strategy gap. Here's something that might genuinely frustrate you. At times, and most of the times, campus teaches you content, but it does not teach you the strategy on how to bridge that gap between campus and career. You learn theories, you pass your exams, you collect grades and GPAs, but very few times does nobody sit you down and say, this is how you actually build a career. Like, nobody explains how to get internships, how to position yourself, how to stand out in a market where everyone has the same degree as you. So what happens? You rely on guesswork, and guesswork creates delays. You apply randomly to jobs because you've seen it. Like, you try things without direction. You're moving, but you have no clear path. And then time starts moving faster than you expected. And before you know it, you are in fourth year, then graduation, and the question stops being, what are you studying? And it becomes, what are you doing after this? And if you don't have a strategy, that question feels like a wall. So what does a strategy actually look like for a student? And let me break it down into things you can start doing right now. Number one, stack skills intentionally. Don't rely on your degree alone. Add value on top of it. Communication. Communication, like digital tools. Learn these things. Learn communication, digital tools, data basic, writings, like writing, professional writing, public speaking. And the more value you build, the more opportunities you create. Number two, start earlier than you feel comfortable starting. Don't wait until your final year to start exploring. Apply early, try things early, fail early, because every mistakes cost you much less than late ones. Number three, build visibility. Don't stay invisible. Share your learning process, document your process, post about what you are figuring out, opportunities you have a way of finding. Like, people who are seen are better off than people who are not. Number four, find mentors. Find people who are a few steps ahead of you on the path you want to walk. They've already made the mistakes you are trying to avoid. You can learn from them. Most people are more often of being asked what you think. Like, we are going to slow things down because everything we've talked about so far, the pressure, the comparisons, the career anxiety, the strategy gap, all of it eventually takes a toll. And I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't talk about what the toll actually looks like. Yeah, burnout. I need to talk about your mental health, not in a clinical textbook or research way, in a real human way. I was not okay, and I genuinely did not know what to do, kind of way. Yes. And campus burnout is real. The constant performance, the financial stress, family expectations, social pressure, the academic workload, it all stacks up. And somewhere under the stack, things start to shift. You stop sleeping properly, you stop eating well, and things that used to bring you joy start feeling hollow. You're running on empty and still pretending everything is fine. And I'll give you a few signs that you might be able to identify burnouts in your life. Like those are the signs that you might be having, and they might show that you have burnout. You're exhausted even after a full night of sleep. Assignments feel impossible to do even when you actually know the material or you've understood the work. You're snapping at the people you love for no clear reason. And you feel like nothing you actually do matters. And somewhere along the way, you've completely lost the plot of why you are even doing this in the first place. If any of those landed, please keep watching. So, what do you do when you're in that place? Here's what has helped me, not in theory but in practice. One, journaling. It's not beautiful. Okay, like journaling, not in a beautifully way, not in a fancy notebook, just a brain dump. Morning or night works, whatever works for you is okay. You can write down what's in your head, the chaos, the worry, the half formed thoughts. Getting it out of your head and onto a page creates distance between you and the noise. Secondly, movement. Not necessarily in the gym. You can take a walk, 20 minutes outside, does something to your stress levels that no productivity session can relate. One person who knows the real version of you, not your whole friend group, just one person. Someone you can text at 1 a.m. and say, I'm not okay, and they'll understand without needing an explanation. Thirdly, therapy or counseling. Most campuses offer this for free. You can use it, and there is nothing strong or wrong about suffering. There's nothing strong about suffering in silence. It's actually wrong. And the strongest thing you can do is ask for help when you need it. And before I move on to the next thing, I need to say something about rest. Because I feel, and I think a lot of us have been taught to feel guilty about resting. And rest is productive, and one of the most harmful things also culture sold to our generation and to us is this idea that rest is laziness, that if you're not grinding, you're feeling behind, that sleep is for the weak. And science says the opposite. Your brain consolidates learning, it makes connections and solves complex problems during rest, not during grinding. So students who are consistently sleeping 7 to 8 hours are often outperforming the all-nighters, not despite the sleep, because of it. So rest is not the opposite of productivity. It is part of the process about productivity. Yes, it's part. And don't let burnout keep you from being yourself or not sleeping. So like, take care of yourself. Your mental health matters more than anything else. Let's talk about money, because nobody does, and the financial stress that comes with it. And students end up making terrible financial decisions in campus out of desperation or out of trying to keep up with people around them. And the financial pressure in campus is real. You need money for fees, rent, transport, food, hanging out, and sometimes you're expected to manage all of that while also excelling academically. And it's not easy. And if you're doing it, I see you. And if you are trying to get into campus and trying not to go through the financial stress, I'd probably advise you to do one of these things. Apply for everything: help, scholarships, bursaries, grants. The worst answer you can get after applying for these things is a no. You miss every application you don't submit. And okay, so you can monetize a skill. Can you design? Can you write, tutor, manage social media? You can start small, build your freelance muscle while you still have the flexibility of student life. Also track your spending, not to punish yourself, but to understand your own patterns. Awareness alone changes behavior. Adopt the broke but intentional mindset. I was taught this some days ago, where you tell yourself, I can't afford everything, but I can be strategic about what I choose to invest in. Also budgets. Budgets. We're almost at the end, and before I close out, I want to leave you with something concrete. 5 things you can actually start doing after you finish watching this video. And if you don't do anything else, please do these 5 things. Number one, create or update your LinkedIn profile today. A summary that tells your story, not tomorrow, but today. Number 2, join at least one relevant student association. Yes, according to the course you're doing, join that. And student business groups also. Find yours and actually show up. Number 3, read one industry article per week. Yes, one. That's it. Do that consistently, and in 6 months, you will be ahead of the majority of your peers. Number 4, reach out to one professional per month for a conversation. Not to ask for a job, not to ask for a favor, just a conversation. Learn from their journey and how they are doing it. Number 5, and lastly, start documenting your journey. Either a blog, a post on LinkedIn, maybe a YouTube channel. Whichever feels natural to you. Your story is your brand, and start building it now. And learn this: you're not behind, you're not underinformed. Like, you're not behind, you're just underinformed. Nobody gave you the full picture, nobody explained the pressure, nobody taught you the strategy, and nobody prepared you for the mental weight of all this. But now you know, and knowing, truly knowing, changes everything. You don't need to have it all figured out today. You just need to start moving intentionally. One step, one skill, one connection at a time. So if you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. You can comment and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. And know that campus is just a phase you're passing through. It's a foundation, and how you use it will shape the person you become on the other side. Yes, it will shape the person you become on the other side. So share this video with somebody you think it help, and I hope it was very nice to interact with.